Okay. All right. Good. All right. That makes sense.
I think we're just waiting on stuff.
Okay. Okay. You ready to go?
Hold on 1 second. We're waiting on Fox.
All right. You ready to go?
Okay, we're waiting on Fox.
Waiting on Fox. All right. We're ready to go? All right, here we go. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm County Judge Paul Poppy, and I want to welcome you to this briefing on the Pond Pines Fire event that's happening over behind our shoulders here, as a matter of fact. We have with us this morning several representatives from Texas Forest Service, Texas Parks and Wildlife, Bastrop County, and the city of Smithfield. So we're here to give you a little briefing on what's going on with this fire event and answer a few questions if we can at the end. As you probably know, mid-afternoon yesterday, we got a report of an ignition out here in a pretty remote area of eastern Bastrop County, and immediate response indicated that the fire was spreading pretty quickly. This is an area that was north of the Hidden Pines fire from years ago, and it's in some pretty rough country with a lot of fuel on the ground. And of course, you all know about our climatic conditions right now and how quickly wildfire can get out of hand. There were some evacuations yesterday. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But we just wanted the public to know that there is a huge response to this fire. I learned this morning that there are over 150 staff members on site this morning representing many agencies of the Texas Interstate Mutual Fire Mutual Aid System and the TIFMAS, and they are doing a great job in getting fire boundaries cut around the fire and preparing to fight whatever Mother Nature throws at us today during the burn window. So at this time, I'd like to call Walter Frocke to come. He's with Texas Forest Service. He'll give you a briefing on their activities, and then we'll have Rich Gray come, who is also with Texas Forest Service. He's our operations manager out here. He will tell us about fire operations, and then we'll take some questions later on. I am pleased to say that because of the conditions last night, we were able to allow most everybody to go back to their home overnight. Power had been restored, and the fire was pretty dormant last night, and with no wind to push it around. And so everyone was able to at least check their homes, check their pets, and make sure that things were good there. But we're cautious about that because we know that as the day heats up and the wind gets to blowing, things can change quickly. So let's be careful about that and not get ahead of ourselves. All right, Walter, if you'd like to come and talk a little bit about Forest Service activity.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning. Walter, W-A-L-T-E-R, Flocke, F-L-O-C-K-E, Public Information Officer, Texas A&M Forest Service. The Pine Pond Fire is currently estimated at 320 acres and is 10% contained. Right now, as Judge said, we have around 150 personnel on scene. Currently, the cause is unknown, as our crews are currently still engaged in firefighting operations. We will know more about the cause in the coming days. This morning, crews are engaged right now in firefighting and building containment lines using heavy equipment. We also have aircraft arriving on scene shortly. That includes a air attack reconnaissance plane, 2 Black Hawk helicopters from the National Guard, 1 large helicopter based in College Station, as well as our large air tanker and our very large air tanker, which we are going to use to build retardant lines along the edges of the fire that do not have any dozer lines constructed yet, and basically give us some time to get in there with our ground resources and build those containment lines and make sure that we're keeping the rate of spread of this fire as slow as possible. This morning, fire activity has been low to moderate, and we're seeing, still seeing some smoke, but we had some good humidity recovery overnight, so that helped keep our fire activity lower. Our main concern for this afternoon is the possibility of thunderstorms building up in the early afternoon. If those thunderstorms build up, we could have outflow winds basically blowing in any direction. So that's our primary concern and why we're spending so much time working on those containment lines this morning and making sure that we're prepared for that. Rich?
Thank you, Walter. Go ahead, Rich.
I'll turn it over to Rich Gray.
Good morning, everyone. Richard Gray with Texas A&M Forest Service. I'm our Operations Section Chief on this incident. To kind of recap how we got here today, yesterday we had the ignition around 3:30, had a very aggressive initial attack response from all the agencies in Bastrop County, along with Texas A&M Forest Service and Texas Parks and Wildlife. As Walter mentioned, those thunderstorms had built up yesterday, and we had outflow winds, which pushed the fire into some very receptive fuel loads. The fuel that we're currently burning is thick, mature pine timber with a very heavy understory, so very heavy fuels and very dry fuels due to the extended drought that we've been seeing. Crews worked all night last night. We've seen fire behavior stay very active till about 4 a.m. this morning, and then we did see a lull or reduction in that fire behavior. We do anticipate the fire behavior to pick up today as we get into the heat of the day and the clouds clear off. We were very successful in establishing what's called an anchor point at the heel of the fire, so where the fire started, and that is a good working place for those firefighters to build off of and start getting containment lines around the fire. The south end of the fire is looking very good this morning. We still have a lot of work to do with our containment lines. The east side of the fire, we have dozer line all the way from the north corner to the southeast corner. We're still showing that 10% containment though, because we have a lot of heat near that line. On the north end of the fire, crews were very successful in doing a burnout operation last night, and that basically hooked the north end or made that pocket on the north end should we see the wind shift back to the south. Where we have the open line right now is on the western flank of the fire, and we're going to be using the very large air tanker that's stationed at Austin, as well as other large air tankers to put retardant down. That slows the spread of the fire, and then we'll follow up with mechanized equipment and hand crews to establish that, establish the line. So things are going well. We do anticipate, growth in the smoke column today, some active fire behavior, but we have plenty of resources to address that today. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rich. I can't overstate how impressed I am with the professionalism of the men and women who are here to respond to this fire. And it's such a blessing to Bastrop County to have these great people who know what they're doing and who can execute a fire operation so efficiently. I wanted to introduce everybody who's here with us today. Gina Cronus is with the Smithfield Chamber of Commerce, and Gina will be making some statements to our Spanish-speaking audience in just a little bit. And Chief Andres Rosales with the City of Bastrop Fire Department, he's going to be one of the Unified Command commanders today. Of course, you met Rich, and this is James Altgelt, our Emergency Management Coordinator for the County of Bastrop. Standing next to him is Commissioner Clara Beckett, Precinct 2 Commissioner for Bastrop County, and a veteran when it comes to fighting wildfires in this part of the county. And then also we have Chief Lucas with the Heart of Pines Fire Department out here on Highway 71, a very good volunteer fire department to support us in this operation. And then finally Brent from the Texas Division of Emergency Management, here representing NIMKID and the entire staff of TDM when it comes to responding to these disasters. I just wanted to again say to the public, be patient with us on this. Let us fight this fire and get control of it, and then it will be safe to return to your homes. These firefighters are doing everything they can to protect your property and your lives. And let's honor that by staying away until the event is over and we can get everybody back home safely. This time we might take a few questions. If anybody has anything that would be of general interest to the audience, let's. What would anybody like to say? Yes.
Happy. You were talking about be patient with us.
Right. We were able to allow people to come home late last night because, as I said, the fire activity slowed down with the calm winds and the higher humidities overnight. But again, be aware that we never know what curveball Mother Nature's going to throw at us, right? And the winds can blow in any direction pretty much at any time when it's 100 degrees in the afternoon. So we're just asking people to be light on their feet, to be prepared to make a move. We're going to let people come back in as much as we can, but we're not going to let anybody be unsafe about it. So it'll work itself out in due time.
Right.
Any other questions?
You
Yes?
have an estimated number of how many people were allowed back and then let,
Yeah.
how many houses?
Do we have any details about that? How many were evacuated? How many were let back in?
Roughly, we had roughly about 10 residences that were evacuated last night. We have let everybody pretty much back in. Some people have decided to not return or stay in shelters. I think we had two that decided to stay in a shelter overnight that didn't return. But pretty much that small area, it's pretty densely populated, and so it's probably about 10 structures, roughly, give or take. It's hard to determine exactly because some of them are abandoned or open. So,
What's that shelter?
the shelter, James?
So the shelter program that we did is we utilized vouchers on mutual aid agreements that we had to put families in hotel rooms. Bastrop County Long-Term Recovery Team is responsible for that. The city of Smithville also stepped up and has assisted us with shelters. But based on the rapid changing events last night, we also had the city of Smithville had their shelter open on a temporary basis in case we exceeded the allotment of hotel rooms that we had. Luckily, we did not have to use the shelter, and we were able to demobilize that. And last night, like Chief Rosales said, we had one family of one stay in one hotel, and we had one family of four stay in another hotels.
So there are two shelters.
So we utilize hotels instead of opening a formal shelter, a traditional shelter that you saw, because it's more cost effective if the number is lower than trying to spin up an entire shelter. So we started off with the plan with the hotels, but like we said, with the wind picking up and the fire shifting, we wanted to be prepared for the worst and hope for the best. And so that's why the city of Smithville was very gracious to open their shelter for us, and we're very appreciative of that.
Right, and whoever wants to take this next question, talking about resources, you mentioned about the personnel on site, but obviously firefighters across our area have been so busy the last couple of days, the last couple of weeks. What about resources? How are we doing on resources, water, personnel,
Either or both of you guys,
fuel?
Rich?
Yeah, thank you. So we've had tremendous support from the area with logistical support. As far as wildland firefighting resources, we're in a statewide fire season and have been for about 250 days. We utilize a dispatch system, so we bring resources in from all over the country. We have folks on this fire from California and Florida. We also utilize the Texas Interstate Fire Mutual Aid System, and that's where we bring local responders. They become basically state assets, and we move those folks around the state. Currently, we have 2 TIFMA strike teams that are on this fire, and we have 8 various TIFMA strike teams positioned across the state. We have about 900 responders from TIFMA, Texas A&M Forest Service, and ordered-in resources scattered across the state.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
But Kathy, Commissioner, this one could be for either one of y'all. Speaking with neighbors, they tell me, they're thinking about 2011, 2015. What whenever a fire pops up here, a lot of them, especially in this area.
Well, it's different. It might feel the same, but unlike 2011, that fire started right in the middle of a pretty dense neighborhood. Fortunately, this is kind of out in a very sparsely populated area of the county. There's folks near there, and to them it's just as bad, right? But I'm thankful for the state resources, Rich Gray. He's come to our rescue so many times before. But I feel really confident. This is a different situation, and there's a lot of resources here very, very quickly. We didn't see Black Hawks and big airplanes for weeks in 2011. We saw them the same day. So we've learned as a county, as a region, as a state, and I feel really good about where we are right now.
Yeah, no, thank you, Miss. Can you take your name just one more time?
Clara Beckett. I'm the commissioner in this precinct.
Anybody else have any questions?
Any area that we should be aware of or alert the public, like stay away from a certain area besides what you guys already said?
Well, as has been announced, we'd like for people to stay out of the Park Road 1C area and, of course, off of Old Antioch Road. That's where the operations are being conducted from as we speak. And the operations center has to move. They moved it how many times yesterday? Twice. Yesterday, as the event expands and grows and the wind changes direction, our firefighters and first responders have to be light on their feet to move to a safer area. So we can't have the public out there to interfere with the operations of fighting the fire and also keeping those who are responding to the fire safe. So let's just stay out of that part of Lost Pines today and tomorrow and until this fire gets completely controlled.
Lastly, Judge, I know a lot of people, rumors always spread through the neighborhood about what or how it started. So do you guys have any idea or any indication? I know the call came in as a brush fire call.
Let's call on operations to talk about that, or Walter, you can introduce it if you'd like to.
The cause is just listed as unknown right now. It's under investigation, and that's all we really know at this time. We could speculate, but no, we don't have a specific location, you know, just the area where it was at off of Old Antioch Road. But at this time, there's no known cause, and we'll be releasing that, you know, as soon as we know it in the coming days. But right now, you know, it's within the fire perimeter. Our crews are all engaged in firefighting, and we don't know the exact cause until we have the time to put some resources in that area to investigate, to look on the ground and see what happened.
Can you again just outline the area of concern here, where this fire is, the location of it?
Maybe Andres could address that. We're more familiar with the local.
Yes, so pretty much Old Antioch from the southern border will be, currently there's a roadblock at Tall Forest Drive. Tall Forest Drive. There's a roadblock there that's as far coming from the south going north that you can go. From north, working your way south, the Cottle Town is as far south as you can go. Old Antioch is closed to the regular traveling public in that area. It is open to the residents. You do have to verify your residency in order to pass through those two roadblocks. But mainly our concern is about the 500 block, between the 500 and 200 block of Old Antioch, and that general location there. So, and as I said, it's mainly on that on the east side of Old Antioch.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question? Tall Pines is the name of that road. Tall Pines, yes.
At the corner of Old Antioch.
Yes.
Last one for you, Judge.
Right.
You've been here for a long time, so we know this is the first fire. It's likely not the last. So what message do you have for people in the area for hope?
Well, thank you. That's a very good question. And as you said, this is not our first wildfire, and it won't be our last. We live in a beautiful part of Texas that combines some amazing forests and some pretty volatile weather conditions, including drought many years. But that combination gives us a special responsibility to be very cautious about how we live and how we interact with nature. Well, we have pled with people for years now to implement fire-wise activity around their home. Cut the underbrush. We talked about, Mr. Gray talked about how dense the understory is in this part of the county. Cut that understory back 50 or 100 yards from your home so that firefighters will have an opportunity to defend your property from loss to a wildfire. If you can reach out your window and pick leaves off of a yopon bush, you probably are in danger of a wildfire destroying your home. You just have to use good common sense in the way you live with nature. It's one thing to enjoy nature and enjoy the privacy that the forest offers us, but on the other hand, if that forest burns down, then all that privacy is gone. So let's use good sense in how we interact with this beautiful part of the world that we've been blessed to live in. Thank you all for being here today. I appreciate your interest in this. Again, Ms. Cronus will do an interview in Spanish, but we're encouraging everyone to be watchful, to be patient, and working together, we'll get this fire under control. We'll get it put out, and then we'll be starting thinking about the next one. So be cautious out there, be safe, and take care of yourselves.
And at last check, still no injuries and no damage.
No injuries and no damage to improved property. So we're thankful for that.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Thank you, folks.
Anyone wants to grab their mics before she starts talking? Listen and interrupt for recording, please. Acérquense ahí. Ellos van a agarrar su micrófono.
Sí.
Yeah.